Hello everyone, today we're going to talk about a subject I've actually talked about a little bit before, and several other hundreds of people have talked about this subject before. It's brine shrimp. I thought it might be interesting to see what I've been doing this summer in order to hatch these shrimp. It's by no means the only way or the best way, but it's what I've been doing, and I thought I'd share it with you. So I've got a lot of fish that I'd like to breed, like some goodeds, and as well as a lot of other kinds of fish. I've got a lot of fish that I wonder if maybe adding live food to their diet might inspire some procreation and some babies and stuff that I could get. Newly hatched baby brine shrimp are very tiny, but they make a very nutritious and lovely meal, especially for the smallest fish. Little teeny tiny babies really appreciate when you include this in their diet. Sometimes you can smash up flakes and use them, but I really feel like baby brine shrimp are probably the best bet. And I've noticed that since I've started adding brine shrimp to their diet, their colors seem to be much better, and they seem really excited to eat it. So I received a shrimp hatchery from Aquarium Co-op a while back, and at that time I decided to try it out, but it was a little rusty. It's actually been a little while since I've done it. But here in the summer, it's nice and warm in the garage, so I decided to reacquaint myself with the Zeiss shrimp hatchery. You can do this in a lot of different types of shrimp hatcheries, from 2-liter bottles to other little homemade ones that I've used over the years. One thing I discovered is that my eggs, which I had in the fridge, had I portioned off some of them and I put them in the fridge. It looks like they had expired. I got a very low hatch rate at first, and I was a little disappointed. I took some of the shrimp out of the freezer and I added that, and I got a much, much better result. I also ordered another one of these Zeiss things. I just went to the website and ordered another one. I noticed now that they include these really long legs, which makes it a lot easier to process this. And having two of them would kind of give me some a little bit of variability. Like I could kind of production line this and do it a little bit more consistently than having one. Now my hatch rates are really on par with what I feel like they ought to be. Luckily, I still had a lot of shrimp left in the freezer, and using those, I achieved a much higher hatch rate and was much more successful. So those things definitely do expire. Now, moving on down the summer, I've decided to add this bucket, but I thought it might be interesting to try and grow brine shrimp up a little bit further to adulthood, and so that's why it's there. I also found this cap. I only had one of these. I'm going to have to go to Home Depot and find another one, but it fits perfectly over the little heater hole. So here's both hatcheries going at different intervals. One of them's 48 hours and one of them is 24 hours. It's pretty easy to tell when the shrimp are ready. As you can see with these 48-hour-old ones, there's hardly any of the little brown eggs floating around. They're all kind of at the surface. And this 24-hour one still has quite a big mix of eggs and shrimp swimming around. You can almost kind of go by color, especially if you don't see very well. All I've got is this tiny little pump. This is something I got in my aquarium box. I've got it split with one of these little splitters, also my aquarium box item. And it's running both of these things and the bucket. It's kind of a tricky thing to get them all dialed in right so they're all running. The other thing I added was some hoses to the little spouts here. This was just an old water changer that I cut up a little bit and added the hoses. I've got my bucket down here and it's being aerated also. I put an old aquarium light on it, I guess to kind of try to generate algae. I haven't been able to grow brine shrimp to adulthood, or I haven't noticed yet, but I'm still sort of experimenting with that. The bucket is attached with this A-clamp. As you can see, the handle for the bucket kind of runs underneath there, so it's actually really sturdy. It's not coming off. I went ahead and tied the light off on there too to keep it from hopefully falling into the bucket if something goes wrong, something gets knocked or something. But it's pretty sturdy. It's about 3/4 of the way on the cart, but it does stick out a little bit. So the other thing that you're going to need for a project like this is some salt. I've got some fancy salt and some not fancy salt. The Fritz salt was really fine and probably broke down a lot faster, but the old, cheaper salt seems to work just as well. You also need a brine shrimp net and maybe a couple of containers to extract the shrimp to. You're also going to need a couple of measuring spoons. I've got a tablespoon and a teaspoon here. The other thing you're going to need is something to kind of grab the last part of it. I'll explain that in a minute. Just a little disposable cup will do. I've also got some spirulina here. I'm using this to feed the bucket. And what I did is I actually had some spirulina flakes that I crushed up in the bag. I'm almost out. I need to refill it. But you can just put the flakes in there and squish them around with your fingers. And it makes a good food, apparently, for the brine shrimp. So I put a little sprinkle of that in every day, hoping that maybe I'll grow some up. Some of you might notice this container behind the shrimp hatcheries. This is actually from the video Save the Buse, and it's just a little continuing side project that has nothing to do with the rest of this. All right, so it's time to extract some shrimp. Got my little cup ready. Make sure I have my shrimp net, and I move this light out of the way. It kind of slides around on this lid. The other thing I'm going to need to do is kind of get this thing in position and cut off the air so all the shells and stuff don't blow around. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to take a light. I'm just using my phone right now. But you take a light, and I'm going to put it at the bottom. This will encourage those shrimp to swim towards the bottom. I take my net, and I like to put the seam out. It just seems like a little bit easier to clean out when I go to get the shrimp out of here. The rest of this is pretty self-explanatory, so let's just take a watch and go through my fish feeding routine with baby brine shrimp. Okay, so this is how I reset the process. I've got this film container, right? And it's got a dimple in the top, and it is just the right amount of shrimp that I like to make. So I go ahead and fill that up, and I'm going to dump it in. I'm not exactly sure how much this is, maybe half a teaspoon or something like that. I started off with a full teaspoon, and it seemed a little excessive. So this seems to work out right for me. And then this little small portion of the eggs that I have will go right back to the refrigerator. Storing them in the fridge like this will help keep them alive for a long time. And then for really long-term storage, what you want to do with most of your shrimp is keep it in the freezer. I just keep mine in the door here, and it's the same shrimp that I was sent a long time ago. So they really do last a really long time, so long as they're frozen. Cup with the extra stuff, I just throw it straight into the big tank. It's a little salty, and there's probably some eggs and stuff in there, but this is the tank that can handle that dilution the best. And these guys really seem to enjoy eating the baby brine shrimp. And that's kind of the end of the cycle there. And folks, that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. And be sure to click like. It really helps with the algorithm. Leave me a comment and let me know what you do for your shrimp routine. Until next time, follow your bliss. Keep a clean tank. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.